Thank you very much. I've been in this Assembly for 16 years, and there's been a couple of really identifying pieces of legislation that this government has brought forward, and none of them in a positive way, by the way. And this is, Bill 45 is one of those identifying pieces of legislation for which I will never forget nor forgive this government. In my opinion, what is before us is vile, foul, disingenuous, wicked, hostile, devilish, repulsive, humiliating, abusive, degrading, offensive, gross, contrary, a violation, it's sneaky, immoral, bankrupt, malicious, depraved, corrupt, and nefarious. And that was just in the first couple of minutes I was thinking about it. So I'm sure there's many more words I can come up with. It is foul and vile and evil because this is a government attempting to legislate away a constitutional freedom. It is a government that is so afraid of being embarrassed that it is going to use the power that it has, with the majority that it has, to overwhelm working people. So what started all of this, and the government's admitted it, a piece of glass in the new Remand Centre. Now, the guards there had been repeatedly trying to meet with the appropriate representatives in the government to point out the deficiencies and some of the items that were either going to be, that were a potential harm to inmates, or residents of the Remand Centre, or potential harm to the workers. Now, the government should not be approving of anything that would take away those guards' rights to come forward and say, we're concerned about public health, or we're concerned about worker health. The government should be supporting them in doing that. But in fact, this bill has come about because the government got embarrassed. They were embarrassed that they'd been caught out in this, that they hadn't met with the inmates. And they brought the full force of what they had to bear on these workers. And, by the way, as I tabled earlier, they did finally admit that the plate of glass I was talking about that could be broken with a coffee cup, yeah, they did finally come to agree that it was a risk, and a health risk and a safety risk to both inmates and to workers, and they replaced it. And I've tabled you the proof about that. They did acknowledge it. But in the meantime, like some sort of cartoon smog of evilness, they descended upon these workers in this wildcat strike with everything they had. The whole government descended on a couple of hundred guards with everything. Individual fines, fines for the union, management, larger fines for court costs, etc., etc., etc. And in the end, well, no, it's the other thing they had to pay the costs on. So, and you know what? Most of the strikes that we have had, actually, all of the strikes that we have had in recent memory, let me go back 10 years, it's reasonable, have been about public health or worker safety. So what is this government worried about? Why do they have to bring in this huge, overwhelming smog legislation that will descend upon everyone and singe them? Why do they have to do this? Oh, right, because people were looking for safer workplaces or for public safety. Right, because the government was so threatened by that.